So I want to welcome everyone today to the Algae Power presentation given by Sharon Seagren. She is CEO and founder of Algae Power and has a history of leading teams developing innovation in tech and biotechnology. She currently serves on the Jupiter Inlet Colony Commission. Her professional highlights include spearheading cellular and two-way radio technology to provide clean drinking water and food for people worldwide. She has worked on soil moisture sensors that are enabled by cellular technology that conserves the use of fresh water, and on technology for the application of fertilizer, making this process more precise because of the sensors that are controlled by the cellular technology. Cellular technology has advanced precision agriculture and enables regenerative agricultural practices. And recently, she has been working with MIT, Harvard, and University of Chicago graduates on the Algae Power project. Welcome, Sharon. I am going to stop sharing my screen so you can start sharing your screen. She hopes. Technology. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, Sharon, please. There you go.
There we go. Hi. Hello. I'm Sharon Seagren, and thank you for coming to hear about Algae Power. And I'll just get right into sharing with you how Algae Power came into being. First of all, it's the slide doesn't seem to advance. Sorry.
Use your arrow buttons.
I am.
Oh.
And nothing is happening. Okay. I'm sharing. Oh dear.
Would you like me to pull up your presentation and you just tell me when to move along? Give it another minute.
I guess that's what we're going to have to do. I see my title screen, but it doesn't, it's not advancing. There we go. Okay. Algae Power, the whole concept was to create a sustainable solution which would eliminate harmful algal nutrient pollution from our waterways and the resulting land development and agricultural runoff. And the mission is to preserve and restore salt and fresh waterways around the world, and specifically with our system. We're all aware of harmful algal blooms, swimming and recreation, drinking water intake, shoreland droppings. I mean, it goes on and on. The causes of these harmful algal blooms. And back, I guess it's almost 10 years ago, the problem became increasingly more serious. And I started working with colleagues to come up with a better and smarter way to deal with the dilemma and to clean and collect all of the algae, and then develop the kind of capital investment that would be possible to accomplish this goal. We remember people getting sick. In fact, the genesis of this project, I was visiting a home of a dear friend and one of her dear friend's child was in the hospital for 3 months, recovering from having gone fishing in the intercoastal waterway and got and became very, very ill from the cyanobacteria. So I just couldn't sit still and not try to do my best to come up with a solution and an answer. And so the answer um, was an integrated bioengineered solution, and it consisted of removing the algae, recycling the algae, rethinking basically how it gets there and how we can prevent it, and then generating enough money to do so.
Sharon, can I interrupt just for a moment? Is everyone
Sure.
seeing the slides? Yes. I think I'm the one sharing the slides, Sharon, so let me know when I need to advance them.
I think I'm advancing it. No, there I go. Or
Are
is
we
it not?
seeing, is everyone seeing the introduction slide?
My screen says Linda Smith is sharing.
Okay, where I am now is on the business and system integration, which the integrated solution and the remediation and monetization.
That's what I'm seeing.
Carolyn, is that what you're seeing?
That's what I'm seeing too.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
I think it's moving.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing then. I don't want to get in the way of anything.
Okay, this is part of rethinking the solution. So we came up with a model dealing with precision agriculture, the water purification, and the economics of the byproducts. And then also there's an investment fund or a funds management, which is a closed-end investment fund, which trades the phosphorus. Because we needed to find a way to deal with the problem and then to come up with the financial scope that could handle the problem. So removing the algae, there was the AquaStream water bot collection, and you'll see pictures of this, and that's done by Innovation Heights, Eric Height. The CUNY AgriSystems, which is a patented solution that came out of the University of Hawaii, Heidi CUNY, and you'll also see the AECOM algae harvester. So these are the three main pieces of technology and know-how that we use to get the system going. Then we came up with a way to finance the process, and that was through recycling what we harvest. So what we're dealing with mainly now is creating a soil enhancing fertilizer that is made from the algae. The algae is harvested in Lake Okeechobee, and it's rinsed with hydrogen peroxide to eliminate the cyanobacteria. And then the algae is converted to a proprietary no runoff fertilizer. And we've done field tests with it. And if you treat the soil with the algae, the plant growth is more vigorous. And if you test the water effluent from the soil, the NPK, or nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, is actually reduced. So the benefit is twofold. The plant growth is better than the best commercially available fertilizer, and there is no runoff, which is the major cause of the pollution in Lake Okeechobee. And not only is there no runoff, the algae remains in the soil as a soil enhancer. So it's a threefold benefit. But that wasn't enough. We wanted to make sure that our agriculture processes were the best available. So we worked on precision agriculture, outsourcing and licensing the best technologies out there. Motorola had two goals. One was intelligence everywhere and getting everyone talking to each other, and that hence the two-way radio and the cell phone. The second goal at Motorola was that there be fresh water and food for the globe, that they would come up with technology, including AI, which would enable precision agriculture and very efficient agricultural practices globally. So hunger and lack of fresh water would be things of the past. And then fourthly, we came up with a closed-end investment fund, which would be a proprietary trading platform utilizing the commodities exchange, and it would be externally managed, and it would include trading phosphorus and phosphate related instruments as well as water futures, because we just didn't want to try to solve the pollution problem without having the adequate financing to make it happen. So again, remove, recycle, and rethink. And right now, our premier product is the no runoff fertilizer. This is the energy outlook, and it's very consistent with the ongoing green energy outlook. These are more pictures of the algal bloom, and the reason that it was important to recover that biomass and convert it into something that would be helpful. This picture that you see the dam on Lake Okeechobee, and then adjacent to the dam, you see the water bots. They're strung along the dam, and they're capable of absorbing the algae before it gets into the water and then goes down into the dam. Here's another example of the water bots in action. The thing that's interesting about the water bots is that they're small enough to go into the canals and the tributaries of Lake Okeechobee, and they're able to pick up the algae before it gets further into the waterway. Here is our major piece of equipment. This is the ACOM shipboard algae harvester, and we can harvest 700 gallons per hour using the harvester. And again, the algae gets separated from the lake. It comes up over a platform. It goes into a container, gets washed with peroxide, and it's in a state that's immediately usable for the farms. And here's more detail on how the harvester works. And other products we looked at were biofuels, green fuels, nutraceuticals, agricultural pelletized fish food. Also, if you feed cattle algae, they don't produce methane. But in our experience right now, the low-hanging fruit that is most important is our organic fertilizer. And as I say, the organic fertilizer is very potent, and it's the secondary benefit of it is that it does not run off, and it is the runoff from the fertilizer that causes the contamination in Lake Okeechobee to begin with. And just to give you some insight, Lake Okeechobee is approximately 750 square miles. It's the second largest freshwater lake in the United States. And it's between 3 and 4 meters deep. So that's like 9 or 12 feet deep. So it's not very deep. The interesting thing about algae is, algae takes in carbon dioxide and gives off oxygen, so it sequesters carbon dioxide. It also consumes the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is the result of the fertilizer runoff that goes into the lake. There's approximately 450 metric tons of phosphorus in the sediment of the lake. And algae, while it's on the surface and it sequesters carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it will change its buoyancy and go down to the deepest part of the lake and actually start absorbing the phosphorus that's in the sediment of the lake. So its benefit is twofold. One, it cleans up the pollution in the lake. And then if it's used as a no runoff fertilizer, it prevents the major factor in polluting the lake from happening in the future. So that's why we're pursuing the no runoff organic fertilizer. There's, as I say, there's other things. You can do biofuel. The biofuel is adequate for aviation. You can do green crude. You can do pelletized food for cattle. You can do fish feed. Nutraceuticals are also, very popular. But right now, what we're focusing on is the organic fertilizer, because if the major agricultural entities around the lake, the sugar farms and the grass farms, if they adopt this fertilizer, we won't have the deleterious runoff that's contaminating the lake to begin with. So it's like a win-win. And here's more about the size of the opportunity. It's, the 900 tons of phosphorus were collected. And in 2022, that's approximately $1,047 per ton. So the financial return is over $2 billion if we can collect the algae that's in the lake. And then in addition, we came up with a closed-end investment fund which is confidential and proprietary. It would be internally managed, and it would be a basket of thinly traded elements: phosphorus, phosphate rock, pure phosphorus, and black phosphorus. And again, this would generate more income to deal with the pollution. Finally, in order to make the agricultural operations more efficient and rethink how we would go about things like land management, we came up with the satellite and aerial imagery. We did the planting, and irrigation, and pesticide and fungicide applications, and more of the imagery to make the farming operations more efficient. Again, the planning, and I gave specific examples where the solutions had a very positive impact on the operations of the farm. But it required the adoption of these precision cultural processes: land management, planting, pesticides. And a lot of this, again, not to, of course, I love Motorola, and I'm not trying to make a pitch for Motorola, other than to say that the cellular technology, the two-way radio, and the satellite technology that Motorola developed enabled a lot of these higher processes to happen in precision agriculture. I was on two major projects, wineries out in Washington State and California, and also in Malaysia on palm oil, where we used a lot of these precision agriculture technologies, and it just makes all the difference in having efficient farming and being wise about the use of fertilizer. Again, our patented technology came out of the University of Hawaii, the Manoa Innovation Center, CUNY Agri-Systems is the backbone of how AlgaePower got going. And these are various illustrations from the patents. But again, our goal was to remove the algae, recycle the algae into something positive, and then rethink some of our basic agricultural processes that would deal with the problem, which is the deleterious fertilizer runoff. And then again, the financial return, I didn't include numbers in this presentation, but the profitability on the fertilizer and the field results of the fertilizer have been outstanding. And then, of course, there's a dollar return, but saving the beautiful Florida environment has really been our biggest motivation. So I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Sharon, I think there are quite a few questions in the chat, if you can get to them.
Okay.
I can read some of them.
Okay.
Are you finished with your presentation, Sharon?
We could be the next extinct species. You can see this picture of the fish and the person. I guess I want, I also wanted to thank people that have helped me. The AquaStream water bot device was invented by Eric Height. The water purification by CUNY Agri-Systems. The artwork that you saw just was by Kristen Minot, and my colleagues from Harvard, Carolyn Potter and Lucy O'Loughlin, the chief technology officer, who is like, my right hand is Peter Dreyer for MIT, and MIT's alumni for Climate Action, MACA group. They've been very much a part of this project. So I just wanted to make sure I recognized all the efforts that they've put in. And I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. One of the questions was, what % of the algae are you able to remove with this technology?
Well, we can process 700 gallons per hour. And so if we had the ACOM equipment, positioned strategically through the lake, we could comfortably handle 80% of the algal bloom.
And I think you shared with me an interesting thing. I don't think I heard you share it tonight, that the algae actually will go lower in the water column to collect the old phosphorus, if you will, from the bottom. Then you have the ability to harvest it when it comes back up to the top.
That's correct. Yeah, the algae changes buoyancy. And so if it isn't finding enough NPK on the surface water, it will go lower, and it will continue to go lower, and it will continue consuming the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium, which is actually the result of the fertilizer that runs off into the lake. So we're basically, people, we're taking trash and making cash, or we're taking a lemon and making lemonade. We're actually recycling the fertilizer runoff that goes into the lake to begin with. We're hoping to work with the farmers to be smarter about fertilizing, but if you take a sample of algae and you just layer the algae into the soil, and and we've done this testing, and you pour water through that sample, the sample with the algae layered in the soil will have a lower NPK than just pouring straight water through the soil. And then the properties that make plants grow and thrive are much are very much enhanced by having the algae in the soil. So it's a win-win. You get better plants and you have no runoff, and then it actually prevents some of the negative runoff that the soil is capable of doing, you know, for years of fertilization to begin with. So,
We have we have a follow-up question with that, and that is, what is the MPK?
oh, NPK is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. N is nitrogen, P is phosphorus, K is potassium. Sorry, I was a chemistry
Gotcha.
major. Sorry.
Yep, you're showing your smarts.
I don't know
Okay.
parts, but
Okay, hopefully that was good. If someone wants more follow-up questions, please continue to put them in the chat. Another question came up. Has this been shared with Palm Beach County or whoever whoever might be able to pick this up and run with it? And I'm not sure if that would be or the Water District or Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, the lake is such a mixture of acronyms also. But you know,
yes,
is the Environmental Resource Management for Palm Beach County.
yes, it has been. We're currently working with the DEP. The Army Corps of Engineers is aware of this. And I was also talking to South Florida Water Management about it. They seem to be very positive about it. So I think we have alerted all of the government agencies, and there are a number of entities that want to invest in this privately.
Sharon, I just noticed a question that said, do you have any farmers that are interested yet? And you might put a pitch for anybody who knows some of the large cane people.
There is a farm that specifically wants to use the fertilizer. And we have not engaged yet with US Sugar or with Florida Crystals.
But that's definitely shortly in the future, because that really is the next step.
That would be a very natural evolution for this. It would be very helpful for their farms. Also, the pricing on our fertilizer, I didn't get into the financial model, is very, very favorable, because our material cost is very, very low, and we will actually make money in removing the algae. So people will pay us to take it out of the lake.
And then I guess the farmer will pay you to put it on their field.
That's correct.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. It's like you put in the announcement, taking trash and turning it into cash. But the important thing is that we came up with a solution that's scalable enough to really turn the page for the lake, really save the lake, and also deal with the underlying problem, which is the fertilizer runoff.
Well, you'll save more than the lake. You'll save the St. Lucie River, the Indian River Lagoon, the Club-Loxahatchee River.
And the Jupiter Inlet. I live on the Jupiter Inlet, and I like to swim there every day. And when they open the C16 canal, the Jupiter Inlet turns brown. So if you can imagine brown water going into the ocean, it really shouldn't go anywhere.
So another question is, what is your background and how did you come up with this wonderful process?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was a chemistry major, and I do have a master's in biology and chemistry. And I do have an MBA. And how did I come up with the process? Again, I was so touched by almost losing this child to this kind of toxic poisoning. And I was in a home with Mrs. Clark, and Larry Clark, her son, worked for Woods Hole. And he said to me, Sharon, why don't you turn the algae into fertilizer? So, there it was in this tiny little group of 3 people that this idea was explored. And, I threw out a broader net because, as you can see in the beginning, we were looking at other things like animal feed. If you feed algae to cattle, they don't produce methane. We were looking at green energy. It will make a long chain fuel that's suitable for aviation. You can fly airplanes on it with it. So it does have other uses, but what I liked about this one was that it dealt with the problem and as well as a solution. I mean, it created a fertilizer, which is comparable to the most expensive fertilizer. And I didn't share the numbers here, but I could run the numbers on this and you could see you can produce it at a very, very low cost. And it does not have the negative side effect of the other fertilizers, in that when you use it, it bonds with the soil and it doesn't run off. So if we could stop the runoff in the lake, let the algae deal with the current nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK, let it get busy with the legacy NPK, which is in the sediment of the lake, we clean up the lake. The farms have fertilizer, and we restore Florida's waterway. And Lake Okeechobee is a source of fresh water, drinking water, for most of South Florida. So the need is really critical, and we can make money doing it to finance the operation and have a successful company.
Okay, another question is, can't they also plant something on the edge of the fields, talking about the farmers, to prevent the runoff as well?
There is another plant, I think it's called duckweed. It's very efficient in absorbing fertilizer, and they could also use that plant as a second remedial agent. But right now we're using the actual algae that's in the lake. The other byproduct that's important here is that the way we treat the algae, harvesting it and then washing it with hydrogen peroxide, we destroy the cyanobacteria, which is very, very harmful to humans. It causes nervous disorders, including ALS. And not dealing with that, and they unfortunately they use water that may contain that bacteria to irrigate other parts of Florida, like
Okay.
I hate to say it, like golf courses. Sorry.
They exist.
Yes.
Another question, does the machinery have any impact on the wildlife it is surrounded by?
No, the water bots certainly has no impact. It's a much smaller piece of equipment, but the ACOM algae harvester does not.
Okay. And are there any, well, you've kind of answered this, but the question was in the chat. Are there any plans to commercialize this and let investors in to purchase stock?
Well, yes, I think we would love to take the company public. But you know, we're in the stages of getting it going, and we would like to take the company public, but we want to make sure that our investors are safe and that we've really, you know, we've had some initial success with this whole approach. You know, people have asked to invest money, but we've been very cautious.
Okay. Another question, are there other companies turning algae into green fuel or the biofuels that
Yes,
you know of?
yeah, the big oil companies, in fact, that's why Hawaii has so much intellectual property in this space, because Chevron and Exxon had built out algae runways there to produce fuel out of algae. So that's why a lot of the, you know, the research there was done in Hawaii. You could go down there and you could see field after field of algae runways.
So an algae runway is just a shallow pool where they grow algae and then they harvest it?
And then they would harvest the algae to make biofuel.
Okay.
And the algae itself, you know, as a blanket, sequesters carbon dioxide. So it takes in carbon dioxide, the algae, gives off oxygen, and then you know, generates nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are the key elements in fertilizer. So it's really quite a beneficial organism. But as I say, if it gets too thick and it becomes anaerobic, then it becomes a breeding ground for cyanobacteria, which is very harmful to human beings. So we have to be careful. But
Oh.
I think it's a classic story of taking a lemon and making lemonade, or like you said in the announcement, taking trash and turning it to cash. But it also solves a major problem, which is the agricultural runoff. And again, Dr. Peter Dreyer from MIT has been very instrumental in crafting this solution.
Okay. Another question, does the peroxide have any negative side effects in the environment? In any kind of quantity? What happens to the hydrogen peroxide, I guess?
It's 2% peroxide, and it's used for like 7 seconds. And it's enough to make sure that we're not spreading around cyanobacteria, but it does not have any negative effect on the algae. But you know, that's a good question, because treating the lake or any body of water with hydrogen peroxide will kill everything.
So you have to use it only within your system.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
You're not putting it all in the lake.
It's not going in the lake. I don't know exactly what's going in the lake right now, but it's not part of our system.
Gotcha. And someone said, I believe duckweed is invasive. So maybe the farmers would need to plant a different plant along the edge of their fields to try to, you know, keep. I think the idea of planting plants along the edge of their fields kind of is the same as mounds, just to keep their fertilizer runoff on their property, which is a South Florida water management best practice, BMP, best management practice, is people need to keep the runoff on their property, whether it's nitrogen or grass clippings or whatever they might be putting into the waterway.
But as Sharon explained, the fertilizer that she would be producing is non-runoff, so it wouldn't run off.
It doesn't run off. It bonds with the soil.
Right. That was just a question that someone else asked about you know, farmers planting plants along the edge of their fields would,
That,
I don't know, I guess help with the the current run-of-the-mill
it
phosphorus runoff.
would help with the runoff. We've been very careful with this solution that it's mechanical and it's not a chemical solution. And it's also, it does not add any additional species. Because as very often, sometimes the cure is worse than the problem. So one has to be very careful. So our process is mechanical, would be characterized as mechanical.
Okay. Is there anybody that would like to speak a question or perhaps clarify my attempt at reading their question or any follow-up questions at this point? You can unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a verbal question. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. I'm looking for hands raised. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, I want to thank Sharon for her wonderful presentation. Everybody can practice their little Zoom reactions by giving a nice round of Zoom applause for Sharon.
Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, thank you all for having me and listening to the Algae Power journey.
Sharon, you might mention your website,
Well, I do have a website. It's algae-power.com, www.algae-power.com. And we're currently working with the DEP, and we're hoping to scale our operation and really deal with this problem. So,
Okay.
but
Well,
again,
we'll have a
so much.
we'll have a follow-up email to everybody that registered. So if anyone is on this call that hasn't registered, go to the website and register. You'll get the follow-up. And I will attempt to put in the AlgaePower.com website and some of these questions and some of the high points, at least in my opinion, and everybody else can join in the next day or two. In the next day or two, we also will have this Zoom put on our YouTube channel. Let's see. And so now it might be time for the mystery question. And this is for your chance to win the Sierra Club hat. Is everybody ready for the mystery question? So get your hands or fingers on your chat and typing buttons. And the first answer that gets in that Sharon deems is the correct answer will win the Sierra Club hat. So the question is, what beneficial byproduct what beneficial algae byproduct did we talk about tonight? Hey, Sharon, there's some answers coming in to the chat. Can
Okay.
you scroll up to see who was the first person to put the correct answer in the chat and tell us what the correct answer is?
Okay. Let's see.
Down at the bottom, chat.
Let's see. The first person that came in with the answer was James Harper. And he says, oh, no runoff.
Okay. So James,
He gets the hat.
you get the hat. If you would like to stay on or put your address in the chat, I will be sending you your hat. So Dave, I see you're giving me the okay sign in the chat, but to mail it to you, I'm gonna need an address.
Well, I think what's wonderful is that most of the answers in the chat were accurate. So I'm so grateful.
Well, I know some of the other answers were fertilizer, organic fertilizer, a lot of that NKP type stuff. So, Dave,
And again, thank you to Eric Height. Thank you to CUNY AgriSystems, Christian Page Manat for a wonderful picture. Thank you all for helping me.
okay, and I'm just verifying. James Harper gave me an address. Is that Dave's address?
No, it's James' address.
Okay, but I think,
James is the one that won, Linda.
oh, I'm sorry. I am very sorry, James. Thank you, thank you. I have James's address and he is gonna be getting the hat. I misheard.
He
or
needs to give
missaw.
you a zip code.
I think I can look that up online.
Okay.
And
Bye.
a big thank you to Linda Smith for, helping me get everything organized and being able to be here tonight.
Thank you. I think this all started because you came to a Sierra Club picnic.
I did.
So see what happens?
Yes, that was wonderful. Out at Riverbend Park, I walked in on your picnic and it was a wonderful picnic, and then started talking about algae power.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming today. And oh, I see. Dave said he's congratulating James. I got confused in the chat. I'm going to stop the recording. And if anyone has anything else they want to discuss for a moment or two.
Thank you. Just thank you. It was a beautiful presentation. I really appreciated it.
Thank you, Kay.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Sarah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Bye-bye.
you. Great.
Great presentation. Thank you.